I need to welcome you to another lovely time on Quest Television. It's Quest today, and indeed, my name is Mike Egobadia. It's another beautiful day, and interestingly, a beautiful weekend for us to do these together. And indeed, it's Quest today. But I really want to say, apart from being a lovely Friday, it's also more like the mid of February. Well, knowing that love is still in the air, just a day before yesterday, the world celebrated St. Valentine's Day. Where were you, and what did you do to resonate that love to your loved one? Well, I'm not going to invite Comrade Odomo into it now.
I'm looking for some reactions that will make us to start feeling very uncomfortable.
But I'll need to tell you that he's right here with me, the unordained bishop. I'll not be asking how he spent his Valentine, but all the same.
You've already asked me, Mike.
And welcome to the show.
Throughout that very day, I was never a branch accountant. I was a home-based accountant.
Well, yeah. I'm happy for Madam.
You said it, and also so she
I'll need to welcome you all, guys, and it's still the fun we're having here. We need to say it's another beautiful time on Quest Television. Welcome to it. But what we'll do now is let's quickly go on a break. I will come back and give you the papers right here on Quest today. Well, the papers is where we're going next, and for review today we have 5 papers. We have The Punch, The Vanguard, The Guardian, Daily Trust, and also The Nation to push us through the papers this morning. But I'd like to start with The Punch, and let's see what The Punch has as a major one on the front page as we kickstart the paper review today on our Quest today. On The Punch this morning, the leading story reads, OPS rejects food imports as back clampdown on hoarders. And right after that is food imports will kill local production, says private sector. As Tinubu governors rule out importation, federal government irrigates 22,308 hectares as custom vow to stop food smuggling. IG, DSS go after hoarders. And you can get that story on page 2. Wigwe, U.S. Deeping probe as Senator Kalode visit family. And you can get that story on page 17. Adoption, federal government governors brainstorm on state police, forest guard is another major one on 16. And Naira trade to 1,489 Naira per dollar at the official market. CBN tackles racketeers. Well, and you can just really get that story. Might not be funny, but just get it on page 17. Tanker operators threaten to stop petrol lifting on Monday. I hope it's not going to add to more problems and woes. Well, that's what it means. But you can just really get that story on page 18. Man in custody for alleged killing neighbor over goat. And, well...
Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, hunger.
Is it the goat of the animal or greatest of all time?
Well, it's the goat of the animal looking at the hardship and hunger that is in the land. But honestly, you can get that funny but disturbing story on page 4 and 5. Okay, Podge Media Foundation, U.S. consulate trained editorial cartoonist rather, is a major one on page 19. But the picture of the day is that very meeting between President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and governors yesterday on account of the issue of state police and also the food crisis that seems to be. But there will be no crisis for us to continue. And let's quickly go to The Guardian and see what The Guardian has as a major one on its front page. And The Guardian this morning, abandoned facilities dot landscape retard sports potentials and growth. And we're talking about uplifting sporting behavior. You know, it's always a big story on the front page of The Guardian, but read that big story on page 4 and 5 of The Guardian. Let's quickly take other major stories. Federal government partners on state police, and federal government and governors partner on state police and food crisis. It's another major one on page 3. Blame state for hardship faced by citizens, and why that is so, just go grab a copy of The Guardian and read page 7 to understand all of it. Obi demands probe of alleged 3.5 billion naira in labor. That news broke out just this week, and when Oluchi Okpara, the treasurer of the Labour Party, accused the national chairman, Festus Abure, of misappropriation of the 3.5 billion naira. And well, anyway, Peter Obi has called for a probe on that, but get more of that story on page 3. How Buhari wrongly approved $10 million gas contract to NDPC PHC is another major one on page 7. But also on page 7, Showore to sue for damages as federal government withdraws treason case against him. And that letter was issued on the 14th of February. The federal government, you could still remember that case was instituted in 2019 when him and Bakare, Oluwole Bakare, staged a revolutionary protest in Lagos. But anyway, we're happy for him that that has come to a close. But anyway, we're not closing the topic, or rather the headlines on the dailies. Food price crisis worsen misery as inflation rises to 7.48% under Tinubu. Wow. And we thought the era of 2.28%, 2.71%, 2.31% is gone. Now we're in the era of 7.48%.
No, the 2% is gone.
Well, NNPC and Total Energies JV achieves zero routine gas flare. It's an interesting and commendable one on page 12. Disquiet in National Assembly as junior workers reject tenure extension for senior staff and who say we no need to grow. But anyway, I'll just tell you that to take that story on page 7. The picture of the day is more of the abandoned sport facilities that would have really changed the narrative in Nigeria, and you can see them scattered across the country, and indeed a sorry one looking at the huge investment that would have been profitable to teeming Nigerians. But anyway, that's the much you can take from The Guardian. Let's quickly run to The Nation, and the run we are. Tinubu governors agree on state police, war on food crisis. Is a major one on the front page of The Nation newspaper. Kick us to that. States get nod to strengthen forest guards in battle against bandits and kidnappers. And what I will not do is to set a price control board. I will also approve and will also not approve importation of food. And this is accredited to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu just immediately after the meeting he had with governors on account of state police and the food crisis. But there will be no crisis for us to continue. No quick fix for spiraling inflation, says expert, as rate rises to 28.90%. And that got a funny smile from Comrade Obidomo's face. But I'll tell you to continue that story on page 2. Banks induce customers to convert dollar into accounts to naira. Well, if that's the case, we'll be happy. But get that story on page 2. NERTO threatens to stop lifting petrol from depots. And you can get that on page 3. As NAS to tackle also on student loan scheme. Well, War of the Words on page 4. But let's see if we take some other leading ones. And CBN asks banks to withhold IOC's export proceeds for 90 days. Well, anyway, they need to hold it. We need that required dollar to see how we can show up the naira. But I'll just tell you to get that story on page 2. Edo, expect credible APC candidate for tomorrow's shadow poll, says Uzodima on page 27. And you can also see that as one of the major picture of the day. But the second major picture of the day is good to see you. No, not Odomo. I'm talking about Fubara greeting Wike and saying, oh, good to see you.
You are Fubara.
And the story we have about that is the vice president himself, Kashim Shettima, had to mandate Fubara to go and greet Wike yesterday during that meeting. But anyway, the fun is there. But anyway, we're happy, good to see you. They are smiling. But whether it's coming from their tummy or the face, sorry, I do not know. The picture is right there on the face.
It's coming out of the mouth.
Well, anyway, good to see you also. Good to see you, good to see you. But anyways, that's the much you can take from the Nation newspaper. Let's quickly run over to Daily Trust. And I trust you know we'll need to take more from it also. And on Daily Trust newspaper, insecurity. Tinubu Governor Mall State Police and the riders to that, they want to kill Nigeria finally. Sorry, I'm not the one saying that, but AIGF is insisting so. It's a dangerous move, says Professor Jibrim Ibrahim. President rules out food importation, orders NSA, IGP, DSS, DG to tackle hoarding. And you can get that story on page 4 of the Daily Trust. Parents of students abroad battle to pay fees. Hey, it's a major one on page 2. Dollar hits 1,600 naira per market. Oh, the era of 2,000 is coming close, but get that story on page 23. Truck owners to stop lifting petrol on Monday, and Comrade Odomo has started walking, and he will walk and walk and walk.
Try to keep fit.
Well, anyway, not me. Reps to federal government subsidize Hajj fare, and are they subsidizing Hajj fare and not subsidizing petrol? Are they going to subsidize us to heaven? Well, anyway, it's a major question or story on page 7. Man knocked down while escaping with woman foodstuff in FCT.
Hallelujah.
Hey, karma came, but hungry still remains. Page 29. Bandit kingpin Dan Nagala wounded in gun battle, and that cheering news is on page 4. Parliamentary system best for Nigeria, says Dan Tata. And is that so? Well, I don't know. Just go grab a copy of Daily Trust and look at page 12. But the picture of the day is that extended meeting between President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the 36 governors on account of the issue of state police, which he has given a nod, and the issue of food crisis, which he feels should or would be resolved. But anyway, that's the much we can take from Daily Trust. Let's quickly go to the last paper for review, which is the Vanguard. And funny enough, is also the proud sponsors of the newspaper on the big story on Quest today. But let's quickly run to the Vanguard then. Insecurity, Tinubu governors agree on state police is a screamer on the front page, and I can tell you to continue that story on page 5. But let me continue with some riders. To work with governors and national assembly to put mechanism to get that done. President under NSA, DSS, IGP to deal with food hoarders and says no to food importation, to train forest rangers to man forests, and governors urge to pay salary arrears and gratuities, and Rep tax IG to implement community policing. But I've told you to go grab a copy of the Vanguard and continue on page 5. Fubara selective implementation of agreement putting rivers on edge. I did not say so, but the APC did on page 12. Climate change, NNPC Limited, Total Energies, JV, achieve zero gas flare. And you can get that story on page 20. Sultan Obi Mon Asaba of Asaba. Sad, our heart goes out to the great people of Asaba. The death over no other person, but Chike Edozie, the one of the first medical doctor to hold a major post in UK. And well, anyway, it's really sad.
Make it so.
Perfectly rest in peace. 100 and something years. Inflation rate rises 28.9%. Our food inflation hits 35.4%. No surprise, Gary has increased, rice has increased, and palm oil is also on its way to the top. But anyway, let's come down and continue with some of the majors right there. Edogoba, your decision is not final. Gandoji tells Uzodimma Primary Election Committee. It's on page 21. CBN bars immediate repatriation of all IOC's forex earnings, and the reason is not far-fetched, but you can get that on page 13 of the Vanguard. 3.5 billion scandal, Peter Obi seeks probe of Labour campaign funds, is a major one on page 9. Nigerians hungry due to Tinubu's shambolic economic policies, says Atiku aides. No surprise that is coming on page 9. And well, the picture of the day is that of MOU or signing between Nigeria and an international body. But let's quickly run to Mr. and Mrs. as we try to calm things down on the paper review today. We cannot continue. Mrs. they always have the first say. We cannot continue like this. If I'm wrong, just forgive and forget. Two wrongs, they say, cannot make it right. And Mr. has the perfect answer to that. Skip the preaching and apologize properly. In mathematics, two negative make it positive. Well, anyway,
no, Mike, it depends. Negative plus negative is negative.
No.
Negative multiplied by negative is positive. So it depends on the angle the guy is taking.
Well, anyway, I feel it's multiplication because she was talking too much. But anyway, that's much we can take right there. I will just play with you. Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, I'll be asking Comrade Odomo as much as we'll be taking the calls. But also remember, after that, our guest for the big story is already around. And we'll be talking about conflict management, especially between security agencies and the citizens. But let's go on a break. anyway, we're back with it. And like we said, we just reviewed the paper together before that break. And it's only right we now bring Comrade FM into the discourse. But you do know you can also reach us on our network now. The phones are available. I'll tell our crew there to put it on your screen so you can actually go through and call and respond to some of the major headlines on the dailies. But before we do all of that, I quickly want to go back to the papers and reach out to Comrade Domo. And let's really look at some of the major. And the issue all on the major of the papers this morning is the issue of that meeting that was held yesterday between President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and 30 state governors and a lot of other persons like National Security Advisor, the DG of the DSS and others. And President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has rejected the importation of food. He said we should rather go against hoarders, and he has directed the NSC, the IGP, and the DSS DG to do so. Let's look at that first before we look at the issue of state police. That got a nod yesterday, and the feeling of having more to do with the National Assembly to ensure that it's part of our constitution and make it more legal. It's to follow in the coming weeks ahead. But let's first look at the issue of what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said yesterday to deal with the issue of the food crisis that seems to be looming and also already causing a whole lot of protests across the country.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mike. If you remove food from poverty, your problem is 80% solved.
Okay.
Because stomach infrastructure is what can never ever be delayed.
Yeah.
That don't lead people to all this petty stealing. Now, if you say you are not going to import food and we are already in acute food shortages around the country, how do you solve the problem?
He feels we are not in any food crisis, but rather scrupulous Nigerians seems to be holding this.
What gives the government that notion? What gives them that thought that we are not short of food supply, but people are hoarding them?
Yeah.
Which means they know that this food is being hoarded by some people. Why wait till this last minute before you start issuing that order? I will go back to the era of the dark goggle, the military head of state, the later Abacha, who ordered the importation of petroleum product from the UK, and in less than 24 hours the vessel was already at the port. How long does it take you to load the vessel? How long does it take you to sail from UK to Nigeria? People clap for him that the man tried just in 2 days, and did you know that those things were already fetching by the Nigerian waters?
At the dock.
Yeah. So if you want to say you are going to start arresting and prosecuting those people, how long will that one take? How many people are even hoarding this food? In fact, where is the food in the first place? The rate of inflow from the northern region, which is mostly the food basket of the nation, is being dislocated due to banditry and terrorism. Yeah. So who is hoarding the food actually? If they have to come with that policy and they're able to tell us those who are hoarding the food, are they going to force them to sell? Are they going to seize the produce and distribute to people either at a controlled price or free of charge? Are they going to prosecute those people? And if they're going to prosecute those people, who is going to stick his neck out for the job? Yeah. It's a very big problem. It's like the solution to it that they don't even have it for now. Why don't you bring in some food now? We apologize. There's nothing wrong in telling the nation that we were supposed to do this.
But he feels it's going to kill local production and be detrimental rather than being more of a solution.
Is the local production not killed already? Is it not killed? Is it just now that they are talking about killing the local production? Do you produce a yam at maximum capacity again? Do you produce rice at maximum capacity again? All this is not dead. The rice farm that was established and initiated and established by Muhammadu Buhari in Nasarawa and Co. Where are they today? Are they producing anything? So why telling us that the thing will kill the local production? We already the local production is already there. The only thing we should be talking about is how to revitalize those sections. Okay. Import food for the meantime. Then, that time you are importing the food, you are growing your own. At a point, you now cut off the importation and concentrate on what you have grown. It is called a parallel run in the computer world. You cannot just discontinue a line, then you float another line. People cannot come back immediately to it, and you will lose your market share because of that. We should continue with that importation and mandate the Arab states on what to do. Tell them we want also thing. We'll give you tax incentive. We'll give you what do they call this? Fertilizers and co. Yeah. Encourage them. Then make them important in the society. If it is going to be a period of 2 years even. Maximum. Then we know that yes, one day we'll be
get out of the woods. Okay.
You cannot be hungry and you do anything. Every decision you take when you are in a very terrible situation of hunger can never be right. That's why they say that. And any decision taken by a poor man is always very drastic, and we don't pray to be in that situation.
But let's remain with the situation of, what transpired yesterday during that very meeting. And the nod for state police has been given. Are we not going to see a follow-up of what happened with the federal police? But in case you don't know, on the big story, we'll be looking at that police and citizens relationship and the mechanism for really working around those conflicts. That will come later. But let's quickly return back to it. The nod for state police has been given by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and he feels is the best way to go to help shore up the security architecture that seemed to be a bit compromised with the recent upsurge in banditry, kidnapping, and a whole lot of criminalities. Do you see state police really resolving the issues and having to add to the almost 370,000 Nigerian Federal Police Force we have here that many feel are inadequate to deal with about 200 million plus Nigerian citizens?
Yeah, Mike, if you ask me, I would rather tell you that though we may not have a different approach to the situation, the only thing that can happen is it will mellow down the bureaucracy system in the police force.
Okay.
Because whatever that happens, the IJ has to give a nod to the AIGs, to the DIGs, to state police commissioners, to...
Before all of that, the crime has...
What will have been
done already.
So if you bring the state police, the first question we should be able to ask ourselves, are these people that are going to be recruited into the state police Nigerians? Because this issue of corruption has eaten deep to every single Nigerian. Yeah. The people that are complaining today are those who have not been given the opportunity to also be corrupt, like the former president said, Jonathan. So if the question remains the same, but the only good thing there is you don't need to go to Abuja for orders before you can do some type of things. The governor and the state commissioner will be able to tame the situation. But the question again now remains, if you now have state police, do they have another state commissioner of police for those ones, or they are still queuing under the federal police?
I feel maybe the structure will be well spelled out, as Mr. President feels he will going to invite the National Assembly to make legislature on that, and maybe now we can see the total blueprint. But in getting state police and having them under the structure of the federal police will be more of a no-no, especially if we look at other countries that practice such.
It's still a bit confusing until they come out with a clearer blueprint. But the many Nigerians will still continue to ask questions. Now, if the state police gets to arrest some culprits, are they going to hand them over to the federal police?
For prosecution.
For prosecution, or are they going to prosecute them themselves? If they are to prosecute them themselves, under what law will they be operating now? Under a separate law from the state, or the law of the federal police in the federal government scenario? And again too, like somebody was saying yesterday, that how are we sure that this state police will not be thrown into the wind, which will be worse than the federal police, in the sense that most of these agberos, the area boys, will be recruited into it, and when that will happen, what do we talk about?
But what I feel we need to talk about now is to look at the Naira trades 1,498 to $1 at the official market. Undermining the CBN has brought in some initiative, but it seems it's not really helping to save the Naira. The Naira is still having its free fall, and many are feeling sooner or later it will hit its head on 2,000 Naira to $1. Your reactions to the falling rate of the Naira, continuous falling rate of the Naira? It
must continue to fall. In the way you were analyzing these newspapers last time on the first segment of this section, federal government urged to subsidize Hajj.
With foreign currency.
With foreign currency. What is the importance of Hajj now to the nation? The Jerusalem pilgrimage, they are entitled to foreign exchange from the federal government. The Muslims are entitled to foreign exchange from the federal government. Maybe a time will come that at the end of the year, the government will make a list of those people that they want to go to heaven and send to God. Because religion is an individual issue. A heavenly race is an individual race. Why do you earmark so much money to sponsor people to go and pray for themselves and say they are praying for the nation? All the prayers that they've been praying for the nation in 1960, tell me, what is the effect on this nation?
No refinery.
Maybe they are praying, maybe they will sit down in their closets and pray the refinery back into existence. I don't know. Let people who want to go, if you are capable of going there, let them go. It's even better to subsidize education for people to be educated, because the country will feel the impact of an educated society, than sponsoring people to go and pray. Pray for what? No, I benefited. I benefited from it. But that does not mean that it is a normal situation. We should be able to prioritize the importance of the nation. What do we need most? Put those things there. If you want to go to heaven, it is your choice. If you want to go to hell, it is your choice. Many people don't believe there is heaven or hell anywhere that is your own belief. That is their own belief. Okay, so now if you sponsor people for those two major ones, what happens to African traditional religions? Why are you not sponsoring those people?
Well, anyway, they cannot sponsor you to Igbe that is around here. Okay, but let's leave that, but go to the issue of Obi demands probe. When the news broke out early this week, Oluchi Okpara, to be precise, said the present chairman of the Labour Party, Abure, misappropriated 3.5 billion fundraising and also nomination forms of the Labour Party. Peter Obi has come out as normal to say, well, undermining they seem to be closed. A probe is in order.
No, they've not actually closed that matter because the guy just raised the dust now. Yes, as a guy that is crying wolves knows what he's saying. If he has the proof, the evidence.
She, brother.
It's a she.
Yes.
I know you know it's a she.
Yeah, Oluchi.
Yes, from your area. I am very sorry.
But anyway, just go ahead.
You don't want us to probe it?
No, please, let's probe the 3.5 billion, not whether I know her.
Okay, if she, according to Mike, has the proof of what she's saying, let them tender it. But all I do know, what is the problem with a clothes seller carrying a wood in the shop? Those goats eat clothes. If you are carrying out probe on this matter, what will be the end of that probe?
Would it not better strengthen the Labour Party and make people believe that the Labour Party is not like every other party where funds are misappropriated? So would that not also bring about not just trust, but also bring about the belief that the Labour Party is different from the other?
That out of the people they threw in the ring during that election,
yes,
Obi is a bit, people's belief is a bit of a saint.
Yeah.
But all the position in the Labour Party is not being held by Obi.
Most certainly.
Yes. So definitely there must be some bad eggs in that place. The only way they should clean themselves of is to carry out that probe. If actually something like that happens, let them deal with the culprit. Where is the money? Where is the money? Assuming that Obi got the mandate and is the president, and this type of a thing happens in his party, what will people say about it?
Yeah.
So it's the best thing to.
It's going to be a big scandal.
Yes, they should not sweep it under the carpet at all. A right man does not sweep all this type of stories away. Otherwise, it will affect his integrity. He will tell you when it happened to you, when you are so place, what did you do? And you are telling us that you are a man of integrity. When somebody was criticizing the past administration, a guy rose and said, "Thank God, Mr. President is not corrupt." That was Buhari. It's not corrupt. Then the question they now asked him, "You are not corrupt, fine. Out of all your lieutenants with all what we are hearing, and you are able to control them." Yeah. Eli was an upright man in the Bible, but the children dragged him into the mud.
Yeah.
So the court should go ahead. If the man is found guilty, they discover that he has dipped his fingers into the treasury of the Labour Party, let him face the law. There is nothing wrong in that. The money did not belong to him. People brought the money into the party.
Truck owners to stop lifting petrol on Monday, adding to the woes that Nigeria are presently going through.
Nothing will happen to Nigeria. We have the highest elasticity of
resistance.
Yes, in the world. Anything that happens in Nigeria, we just look at it. The maximum we think over it is 30 seconds. That wow, petrol wants cast again, or this or that. It is over. When the petrol was rising from 150 to 170 to 180, 300, 400, what did we do?
500, 600.
We started adjusting our elasticity of resistance so that we will continue.
So who used to take a meat now takes 2 meats before you use?
People something like two people are sharing 1 meat in the canteen now. Because if a meat is about 300 naira now, and it's just like a palm kernel. You tell your guy, when I go market, waiting at this 5,000 buy now, 15,000 I buy now. What can you actually blame them? You buy and sell at the rate at which you.
So do you feel Article's 8 saying Nigerians' hunger is due to Tinubu's shambolic economic policies?
Of course. You know, the major problem that this administration caused was that first announcement of subsidy removal. Before you should announce that type of a national issue, because that is the crux of the economy. Yeah. Before you can come out to make that type of announcement, you will have had the executive in place. You hold meeting with these people. Let people come up with their ideas. Let them debate this thing, even if it is not done in the public. People will contribute ideas. Over there, my CNC. Why don't we go this way? No, I don't like that way. Why don't we take this direction? You didn't do that. Now you remove the subsidy, and the people we are now appointing after the removal of the subsidy, that is the ministers and other people in the positions, we have now to be forcing themselves to adjust to that your policy.
And convince Nigerians.
And convince Nigerians, which is very, very difficult. You cannot explain the development of a place that you are never aware of. It's not just possible. I cannot explain how Honeywell communication came into place, but you that have been here for a long time can do that. That was what Mr. President should have just done. They all knew quite well that they would remove the subsidy. All the aspirants, all the aspirants to the position, all said they would remove the subsidy.
APC, PDP, Labour.
Yes, but it is not enough for you to just come to the office after being sworn in, just sit down, subsidy removed. No. If we are saying that we will not go out of this place until we see the sun in the morning, does not mean that you should go and tie your lamp in the sky. That already the sun has come out. You enjoy yourself like the what people will say to say, Mike, you go mundo. That is what we are going through now. So those economic reasons, the CBN is there doing their own, floating naira today, breaking it down tomorrow, banning this today, banning that tomorrow. What will happen to the ordinary Nigerian? What is the level of our investment that is making you to do those things? Why not you unbound those our alien assets and let them come into existence?
But anyway, what I do know we'll do, just like they will say, is we need to jackpot now and leave the paper review.
That's another communication policy you have just made.
Well, anyway, we need to jackpot. And I'll need to thank you so much before we do so for always staying put with us all through the week. It has been a very interesting, insightful reactions to some of the major headlines. We truly appreciate you. And all I'll say, have a lovely weekend as I will look to see whether ordination will come next week. But all the same, thank you so much, for doing this.
Post-Valentine.
Post-Valentine. Well, anyway, as much as he'll be doing all his Valentine goodies during the weekend, I need to thank you guys on Quest today.